All right, hello, and welcome to a live stream. My name is James, and I'm the Bald Engineer. Tonight, we're going to be doing some stuff with KiCad, but first in chat, if you can hear me, please let me know what is your favorite component, and that way I know the audio is working okay while I get one or two more things set up. One thing you might notice is this isn't my usual setup. So since the last live stream, I've actually physically changed locations. I'm in my new house, which will have a new lab and new studio. However, none of my stuff is here. So I've basically got my camera and my laptop and a couple other things. And so we're going to rough it for a couple of days while I get everything set up. All right. Thank you, TC Evans. What is a CPD 1802? Asidin, good to see you. I hope I said it right this time. I was actually watching your stream yesterday while I was working and unpacking things between kind of going back and forth while waiting for stuff to happen at work. But you totally caught my attention when you started showing the MicroMages boot screen, because I also backed that project and I played the heck out of it when it first came out. So it was it's a fun game. Yeah. Okay. So what we're going to end up doing tonight is I just decided we're going to work on the Apple IIgs schematic. We've only got a couple of pages left, so I want to make some progress on the audio page, and then I'm not sure what we're going to do on Friday yet. We're either going to work on this or we're going to work on a Bluetooth project that I have had in mind for a while, but I've got to figure something out in Python before we can make progress with that. The other thing I was thinking about doing, and almost did it tonight, is just do like, I don't know, a couple hours of Arduino examples, stuff that can use the serial monitor, because I've got an Arduino board, but almost nothing to hook it up to. So, I missed the, or maybe was it the ad hoc stream where it was working, or I guess right before I had to stop watching, you made a comment about how the stars were starting to twinkle on the title screen. I think you have every right to be excited. Empire says, "Yay, new background. Totally temporary background. I'm totally not where I'd want it, where I'll be in the new studio. I'm in the new house, but not the new studio. So we'll get that. That'll probably happen over the next 2 weeks or so. But I wanted to start streaming again because I missed you guys, and I just thought it'd be fun to hang out and do stuff. Also, I have nothing to do in the house right now, so I'm kind of bored. Okay, so I'm gonna start getting into the schematic while people still trickle in. Let's see. So let me get you guys over to here. All right, and all right. So hidden behind the chat area, which mouse am I using? Hidden behind the chat area is the PDF that I'm using. So if you can't see it, that's probably okay. I'll make it bigger if we do something where I need your help to look at something. So now what I got to find, well, maybe I will make it bigger because I can't find the zoom. Which one lets me draw a zoom? All right, I think, so, just to back up one step, hold on. For those that don't know, so over on GitHub, I have a project called Bit Preserve. And it's basically GitHub, Bald Engineer, Bit Preserve. And so we are taking, wait a minute, something's up. Okay, so we're taking old schematics for old video game and computer systems and creating them in KiCad. And so there's a number of systems that are in here. A year ago when I first created this repository, there were a couple of these which were created and I just used them as placeholders, but I think almost every system is represented. Okay, I thought somebody had submitted Amstrad, I guess not, but it looks like Tandy and Amstrad are the only ones where nobody has submitted anything yet. So, so that's pretty cool. But Okay, so that's what we're working towards. So there's a bunch of different computer systems in this repository, so feel free to go check those out. The one we're going to be working on tonight, or whatever the time zone for you is for the Apple IIgs Revision 3 ROM. And so what I've got is on the left will be my KiCad version, and on the right is the PDF that we're working from. Just as an example, let me go show you the slots. So here's an example of a page where we've already gone through and recreated it. One of the things we're doing is we're trying to make the schematic modern so that you can do things like searches more easily, stuff like that. And yeah, so that's what we're working towards. The whole reason I'm doing this is because I still have, after this is done, I'm going to create a portable Apple II from a chip that was in the Apple IIgs. And so that's what kind of kicked this all off, but I wanted to get this project done before we get into that. We were kind of bored without something to watch. Ooh. Highlight that shows it working. Oh, awesome. I'll check that out later. MNT reform, just talk about the fact that older computers came with schematics. Yeah, actually. So actually last year at KiCad, when you were talking, I was talking. And so during my talk, I actually showed the example of the Commodore 64 Programmer's Manual, which came with a copy of the schematic. And so the whole idea was I wanted to capture them. I mean, the PDFs are fine. I'm happy that most computer systems have a schematic. It's just they're all of various quality. Some of them still have mistakes in them. And, I mean, a static PDF just doesn't live. And so I like the idea of using KiCad because 20 years from now, you'll be able to use some piece of hardware to run the version of KiCad we're using today to open these files, if there isn't a more native way to open the files. Whereas the PDFs, I mean, they're just static images. And just for the whoever's going to say, well, why don't you just do like OpenCV and do OCR and blah, blah, blah. I mean, when you start looking at the various quality of schematics, the amount of effort was just, to me, was not worthwhile. So in fact, I encourage people that if you're trying to look for a reason or somehow to learn how to use KiCad, that redrawing one of these schematics is a great way to get used to using KiCad. And so anyway, all those things. Oh, the open source laptop. Oh, okay. I know who you're talking about now. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was just looking at that. Why was I just looking at that the other day? All right. Thanks, Babin, for sharing the KiCad talk. Yeah, I tell you, there's a bunch of things about this setup. It's so echoey in here. It's driving me crazy. I don't have any music. My lights are all messed up. So, but hey, we're just gonna power through and we're gonna make this stuff happen. All right, so let's get some buses labeled on this sound glue chip. I love the fact that it's GLU, like glue. I think I just lost one of my lights. Bummer. No TRS-80 Model 4 or 4, what is that? 44P. Hey, if somebody hasn't submitted it yet, then nope, sorry. But if you want to do it, please feel free. I mean, I think I looked last time, and I probably have this number wrong, but I think there's been something like 10 contributors so far, and I definitely want to see that number go up. When I started doing it, I did not want it to become one of these things where it's like I did everything. That's actually one of the reasons why I wanted to use GitHub, is because I wanted to make sure it could be a distributed activity. Edit. Oh, it's trying to clarify. So after I copied and pasted those, now I'm just pressing the E key on my keyboard. E for edit, and then I'll go through and just renumber these. Now, if you're wondering why don't I use a bus or bus notation, I actually talked about that. Oh gosh, now it's been over a year. There is actually a Twitch highlight over on my Twitch page where I talk about that. Long story short, I don't really find that the bus doesn't really do much in terms of helping understand how to read the schematic, in my opinion. That said, I don't I'm not against using it. For me, it's like I just don't see a reason to. And so I don't. All right. So this is going to be SND LA0. Also, the way you draw schematics today is different than, yeah. I actually, that was another thing. I mean, even, well, I tell you what, like, I think, so there's a couple of Commodore 64 schematics that have already been submitted, but I think that was a schematic that I thought was a really interesting one because there are a lot of conventions in it that are perfectly readable today, but not exactly how we would probably draw it today. But it's also a great example of a schematic that was literally hand-drawn. Whereas I think you can, if you look at this 2GS schematic, I'm sure it was hand-drawn at some point, but then it got relayed out by some form of CAD. I mean, something. And, you know, you go back to like C64, VIC-20, like the original Apple II, all that stuff. It was all done by hand, you know, and so you sort of did things different when you were doing it by hand. SORA. So SOAD bus. All right, we're going to just copy this label, bring this one over here, hit W for wire, make a wire about that big, edit, and then this is going to be SOAD bus 0. Highlight that, just Control CV, and then copy that a couple times so that it makes it quicker. All right, let's go 1, 2, clarify, it needs, thinks I'm trying to get the line, 4, 5, and then I'll just give you guys a heads up now, and maybe chat can help out in case I have to. I'm waiting for a phone call, and it's supposed to happen anytime between now and the next hour. I'm hoping it's just a text message that says it's done, but there's also a chance that I have to take a call. And so I don't have the trivia, and I don't have a be right back screen, so I'm just gonna mute my microphone and walk away when that happens. I mean, I'll try to tell you I'm doing that, but just a heads up to anyone that's sticking around for a little bit. And sadly, very sadly, the Monty Python sound effects, which a couple of you have sent me stuff, I just haven't had time to get to that. Those are not with me right now. I have a really strange setup. I've got my normal streaming computer, but it's not connected to a monitor. It's connected to another laptop through an HDMI converter so that I can see what OBS is doing. And then I've got my laptop connected to that. But because of that, I'm just not, I don't have everything going on. The 5-volt symbol is pointing down. Yeah, I saw that too. That's it drives me crazy. So the buses are better in the nightly builds. Okay, I'll have to take a look at those because I haven't. When 5 so back when 4. So a year ago, when 4.7 was several years old at that point, and 5.0 was still in nightly builds. I had started using nightly builds there because the difference between 4 and 5, versions 4 and 5 of KiCad were like night and day. I mean, they really didn't look that different, but gosh, they just worked so different. And it was really more a matter of the newer version was just so much more polished and cleaned up. But yeah, I haven't really used an old version for a nightly build probably since then. Oh, I take that back. Because I saw Drew from Osh Park had commented that there was some, or was it you? I saw somebody on Twitter make a comment that a nightly build had curved PCB traces available, and I had wanted to play with that. And then I think that was like the day my movers called and said they were going to change my move date to be a couple of weeks earlier, and so all hell broke loose after that. It's actually why I canceled all the streams last week, was because I was busy moving. So, all right, so those are looking good. Let's, I don't know why that's failing. That bothers me, but oh, I think I know what that is. I think that's actually a Dropbox error. If I save too often, then I think Dropbox holds open one of the files and Windows gets upset because it's terrible and doesn't know how to actually do anything like in a functional manner. But somehow it's still a very much necessity in most of the time. Not really sure how that works out. All right, so these are pretty easy. This part of the schematic is not too bad. It's the right side of this page. It has a ton of like op amps and discrete analog stuff. I'm super not looking forward to that, but we'll get there in a minute. Nope. Yeah, I've been using, so when I was in high school, so that was around 97, I had Windows. And I think we had Windows 95. That was the last time I paid for a version of Windows. And then in college, that's when I learned about Linux, and I had Slackware running on my computer. And so I think for the first 2 years of college, the only time I used Windows was in like a computer lab, but my personal computer was Linux. And then I bought a laptop in my junior year, which I immediately put Linux on that, which was at the time was like, oh my God, what a pain to get Linux running on a laptop. But I did, and it worked well. It just was not, at the time, Linux was just not meant for portable hardware. And then pretty much from then until about 2005, I ran Linux full time, except for my work computer, which ran Windows. And then around then is when I got my first Mac, which, well, it wasn't actually my first one, but for the sake of this story, I'll say that was my first one. And I was using Mac OS from about 2005 until 2019. And I had an issue with the new Power Mac, the iMac Pro. Its security chip kept rebooting my machine. And at that time, it had been a known issue for 9 months and hadn't been fixed. So I returned it. And then that day, I bought everything I needed to build the computer I'm streaming from right now. The problem is, the reason I had to go to Windows is because I use Adobe products for all my video editing, and I really need it, so I couldn't switch over to Linux. If it wasn't for Adobe, I would actually go to Linux, because that's the Adobe suite is about the only thing I use that is truly Windows only. I mean, there's a couple of programs that are Windows only, and throughout all that time, I've always had a Windows virtual machine. But I didn't really run Windows full time. So trying to do stuff with Adobe, for a little while, I tried to switch between Windows and Mac, Windows on the desktop, Mac on my laptop, but it was too frustrating. It's about as close as I can get to learning how to speak a second language, trying to switch between the two. Anyway, I don't know why. That was a story nobody had asked for, but I wanted to tell anyway. So I use Windows. I don't like it, but it gets the job done. So let's see, that's a bus. I'm not going to worry about it. That's a bus. Not going to worry about that. Need to see where sound read-write goes. That was part of that bus. That's weird that those bits are mixed up. Dev L is an off-page connector, so we'll just oblige that. Well, now that I've bitched and moaned about Windows, I will at least say no OS is without its flaws. I mean, I've run, so as I just sort of went through, I've run Windows, Linux, and Mac at some point full time for multiple years in my life, and they all have issues. They've all run into problems. It's just my experience has been the Windows problems are the most quirky. They're the most difficult to track down, and they have the most amount of solutions that are conflicting. Linux is a little quirky, but it's usually pretty well documented to the point that you can basically figure out what's going on. But it's like, I mean, a really good example is why in Windows, if you want to disable the screensaver, I found at one point I counted 6 different dialog screens that had screensaver controls, which makes no sense. No sense that there should be one screen, just like Mac and Linux have. And then I'm not even counting if you go into regedit or if you drop into a command shell, because I don't really count those. Guessing Photoshop and Wine would be a disaster. Photoshop's not the one that really gets me. It's Adobe Premiere and Adobe After Effects. Both of those are just, Premiere, I could probably find an editor that is comparable to what I need it to do. But the number one tool that I use that I cannot get a Linux version of is After Effects. And all of my animations and a lot of my video cleanup, I do it in After Effects. And I've looked around. I can't remember who it was, but I talked to somebody at Aleph Objects, the TazBot 3D printer place, and they said, yeah, After Effects is the one thing I wish we could get an open source version of, because they were using Blender to do motion graphics, and I felt bad for them, because don't take that wrong. Blender is a fantastic program, but it's not After Effects. It's not designed for motion graphics. So well, if you have a question, just ask it. I mean, I'm not going to stop the stream to wait and listen to somebody's question. Also, if you ask the question in the chat, then somebody might be able to answer it while I'm talking. On Windows, it's hard to know. Going back to both Linux and Mac OS, copy and pasting the error into Google almost always would find a problem. Totally agree. And it's just because it's both of those. Let's just for the moment say they're both Unix-based operating systems. There's some difference in that, but let's just say that for the moment. There's just a lot of conventions and standards of how stuff gets done and reported. And so they just tend to work really well. Whereas with Windows, with every release of Windows, the API changed just a little bit, and it just adds up to a lot of... Okay, I'm going to stop talking about Windows. I'm just ranting. And it's kind of hypocritical of me to talk about how bad it is while I'm sitting here using it. I'll just continue with, it's terrible, I don't like it, but I use it. That's interesting that's not the digital ground. Use wire, come to here. Okay, this will be SC31, and it's going to be 56 picofarads. And this test point is TP169, and then I'm going to hit edit on there to bring up this window, hit visible to make it go away. And so now that looks a lot more like the schematic. What did I just do? So sound block comes down here, TP169, schematic to ground, 1K goes to A2R-W.H. All right, we got a 5-volt symbol that's not pointing down. And then couple things over here. Okay. BA bus, MD bus 0, and then VDD is going to go to 5 volts. So let's bring this up here, rotate that to here. I'm going to move this over here, move that to here, and I think it should be UJ7. And then we can move this. There we go. Cool. So the sound glue chip, I think, is done. So what I'll do at this point is I'll move this over so you guys can see it a little bit better. Because yeah, I don't have a good way to turn stuff like chat off. I don't have all my shortcuts. So you just have to do your best to read through that. So what are we laying out at the moment? So we are redrawing the Apple II GS schematic. This is part of my Bit Preserve project. If you just search Google for Bald Engineer and Bit Preserve, you'll find it. We're recreating vintage schematics for vintage computers and video game systems. So I'm working on the 2GS. Some other people have submitted a number of the other systems like the Commodore 64. I think somebody did the Altair. Yeah, so quite a few. Okay. So those are looking good. Let me double check my... So this should have happened by now, but okay. All right. Who's doing the Tandy 100 or the Tandy 1000? Was there a Tandy 100 or was that a typo? Okay, so I did notice, I mean, there's definitely some stuff that goes off to the right of this page, but let's get these test points into place. So I think we're going to try to follow the same thing they did. So let's do this. Let's just copy this one. That way we don't have to change the visibility of that one label. So R and rotate it around a couple times. And then let's go about this far apart. And so it looks like pin 47 will come down to 130. So W for wire. Oh, that's not what I wanted. We're gonna go the other way. Wire up to here and into there. And then 131 goes to the number 2 signal. And then that one must go to number 1. Okay. So now let's rename these to be 130. And we'll do edit 131, edit 132, edit 129. Hey RJ Helms, how you doing, man? Well, I say man, I assume you're a man just for some reason because of your name RJ. If you're not, I apologize. Okay, so we got a couple of resistors going on. So let's lay these out and then see where the best place to put these are going to be. R small. Looks like it's going to line up with right about here. And then come over here. And then maybe down here. And then maybe down over here. All right, so 0 goes to there. And this one goes to here. Yep. Okay, I don't like that. So we need all of these to come down a little bit. So if I use G, nope. What's the, that's what I want to do. So I'm using G to just pull these down without having to redraw them. Because I want this to be basically lined up with, okay, so we need to move this back up. I want it to be lined up to about there. All right, and then this one, let's see. This one must connect to VC1. Yep. I don't like this. We'll have to figure this out. I don't like how it goes through here. That just kind of looks messy. For the Osborne Executive, I don't know. Did I still have this open? So go to github.com/baldengineer bit-preserve. And on my website, the graphic I used was like a jar of jelly, so like preserves. Anyway, I don't think there's anything Osborne yet. But maybe that's because we're waiting for the next version. Okay, so I think I can move this up. Why don't we try moving this up like this? We're still right smack into this one, but we can move this up. And then this can, okay. That's much cleaner. That's much better. Okay. And now let's name these and then see how we're going to lay out the labels. All right, and then the value 75K, 36K, 18K, 9.1K. And I'm gonna kind of copy the way that they did this because I think that looks nice and clean. There we go. Look at that. That's looking really good. I'm pretty happy with that. So 75, 36, 18, 9.1, 9876. How do we get involved with preserving old computer schematics effort? So there's a couple of ways. Number one is go take a look at the GitHub, and if there's a system in here that you would like to draw the schematic for, then go for it. If you've already drawn the schematic for one, feel free to add it. Now, in my layout of this project, I really called out KiCad. I have talked to a couple people who have done some stuff like, I'm trying to remember which system it was. They never submitted it, even though I told them to. There's people that may have already drawn something in like an Eagle or even Altium or whatever. If you've already drawn the schematic, I would say go ahead and submit it anyway. Maybe we'll get it converted to KiCad at some point, but if you've got it in a modern schematic tool, then let's just get it in here. The one thing I don't want people to upload are PDFs. I don't want PDFs like if you find schematics for any of the systems somewhere on the web. Please don't upload a PDF of it. And at the moment, I'm asking, let's not upload PDFs of the finished schematics. Although I think there was an issue that was open and I was allowing people to comment. I'm going back and forth on that one, but just for now, let's limit the number of PDFs. Because what I'm trying to encourage the use of here is if there's a schematic here and you need information on it or you need to work with it, my recommendation is you get KiCad so that you're using a modern tool to view it. So number one would be add a system. Right now what I'm looking for are 8 and 16-bit systems. Not really a hard limit on what we add. I just want something that's relatively old and ideally something that nobody's going to come and contest the schematic being available. So, if you somehow got a hold of a modern AMD system, please don't upload a schematic for that. The other way that you could help being involved is verifying the schematics. This is kind of an open-ended problem. One of my thoughts is like the reason I picked the Apple IIgs is because I'm going to build a portable Apple II, which will require me to really cut up the existing circuits. And so if there's errors in the schematic, I'm probably going to find them, and then that way we can correct them. Also, just during the capture process, we might be making mistakes. And so if somebody could take the time and go through and look at the captured schematic versus the PDF and then say, hey, yeah, these look like they're the same, or highlight issues, that would help. So I think those are the two best ways I can say to contribute is draw up some schematics or help review the schematics. And again, you know, if your number one reason for not doing this is, well, I don't know how to use KiCad, this is a fantastic way to learn how to use KiCad, because you're just copying what already exists, and so you can really focus on how do you make your KiCad, you know, how do you make this look like this? So, have you ever used DipTrace? Actually, DipTrace is one of the few tools I've never used. I've used Altium. I did a lot of OrCAD. I used to be, for personal business and my side consulting business, I was 100% Eagle for a number of years. And then once I converted to KiCad, I never looked back. But yeah, DipTrace is just one that I never used. Altium, the only reason I ever used Altium was because I had a job where we used Altium, and so I had access to it there. But if the software only runs on Windows, there's a really good chance I've never used it. So, I've heard positive things about DipTrace, but yeah, no, me personally, can't say anything about it. Actually, I have a pretty close friend. He used it for, he was really big into it. He started to convert to Eagle, but he ended up going back to DipTrace because this was before AutoCAD bought Eagle. He was really frustrated with the licensing strategy. You know, it's funny. No, I'm not gonna get into that. I'll just leave it at that. Let's do this. So I don't know. What do you guys in chat? What does everybody else use? So who uses KiCad? Who uses Eagle? Who uses something else? Oh, that looks terrible. Why did I do that? I was not thinking through that at all. All right. Not entirely sure what we got going on here, but we'll work with whatever it is. Why did that flip that way? 27K, SR72. Is this the value? There's the label. And our microfarads. Yeah, to sit down and watch the DigiKey tutorials on KiCad to grasp the start. Yeah, I played with it, dabbled with it for a couple times before. 5 years ago, I was at the first Super Conference, and what's his last name? Anderson? Tom Anderson, I think. And then maybe Anul was there, but I think it was Anul. They went through a kind of like a Blinky type example, and that's when I started to really use it. And then I watched a video of Anul from Hackaday using it, and with that's when I started going. I think with KiCad, the real trick is once you learn how to use the keyboard shortcuts, that's when you'll get hooked. Like here, where I'm moving these labels around, I just hover my mouse over the value, I press M, and now I can move it. Or if I'm hovering on one of the labels, I can hit R, and it rotates it. You know, just little shortcuts like that, they really get you going. Hey, Robert, good to see you. Eagle University, yeah. I think I do recommend, if you're either a student or hobbyist, I do recommend learning how to use Eagle, because there are still stuff out there that are only available in Eagle. So like the Arduino schematics tend to come in Eagle. I think Adafruit is still an Eagle shop, and so you'll still run across Eagle schematics. So being able to navigate and use their antiquated noun-verb user interface, you probably want to understand how to navigate in it. But I wouldn't go so far as to say you should learn how to use it proficiently, but at least be able to navigate a schematic. How much is KiCad? KiCad is an open source free software. A lot of funding for it comes from CERN and a couple other places, but it is an entirely open source project. Yeah, so KiCad-pcb.org. So TC Evans, you got Eagle when 6.0. Yep. I did the same thing. I paid for that, whatever that first level of license was. And back then I was happy with it. But then I think it was around Eagle 8. I still remember they sent this email where they said, oh, well, we've simplified our licensing strategy. And it was way more convoluted. They added like 3 vertical layers to the already horizontal layers. And at that moment is when I was just like, okay, I'm done. And that's when I started playing with KiCad. And then it was, I don't know, a few months later, maybe it might have been up to a year later that I went to the super conference and I switched. Yeah, the EagleCAD importer in KiCad does work fairly good, but it's not perfect. If you just need to look up something in somebody else's schematic, I think it's good enough. But yeah, it's not perfect. Yeah, the command line interface in Eagle. Yeah, KiCad doesn't really have something like, it doesn't, there's some scripting you can do with Python, but it's nothing like the CAD system that Eagle had. In fact, I dissed it by saying it was antiquated, but there were some benefits to its user interface. But yeah. Okay. So that's looking good. Okay, so that all looks good. Let's do a save. Yeah. You can't do this. Whatever. You don't know me. I can do whatever I want. All right. So what do we have now? So this must be the RAM for the sound chip. So that was sound glue. Where's the Sonic? Is this it? I don't know what doc 5503 is. So the 2GS has a unique sound chip in it, which is cool, but it's also unfortunate because very little software made use of it. And I know I said this wrong before. I thought this was the precursor to the PlayStation. Was it the precursor to the Super Nintendo? I can't remember. I don't think the sound chip was. I know the CPU was, because some Super Nintendo games are actually developed on a 2GS because they had the same CPU. But the sound chip, I forgot what the story was. Anyway. So Ross is talking about how Eagle seems to fight you. You know, the one thing I will say about Eagle, and this still continues to be to me a big difference between KiCad and Eagle, is KiCad is very much separate programs that have slightly different user interfaces or user experiences, like UX. And the integrated nature of Eagle does make its user experience a little more consistent. And so if you can learn how its noun-verb system works and get used to that, then it becomes a little bit easier to use, simply because it's very consistent in the way that it operates. I think where I've seen people fail the most when they try to use Eagle is they try to use it like a Illustrator or vector program, and it just doesn't work that way. It's an old school CAD program. It was built in the DOS era, and you just sort of have to get used to it. Now the flip side of that is, man, I used to have a lot of the commands, like I could type them with one hand and it would save a lot of mouse clicks, but I found by using KiCad's keyboard shortcuts, I accomplished the same thing. Hold on just a second. That is the news I'm waiting for. So the first step is in progress. All right, so looking at these signals come down and connect down here. So I think what we're going to do is we're not going to draw the symbols the way, or the connections like they did. We're going to do this instead. And then we'll add a ground. So let's do something like this. I'll C to copy that, bring this down here, and wire that. All right. So the sound chips are the same? Are they? Okay. I think that's what I messed up before, is I think I said before that this was the sound chip that was a precursor to the PlayStation, but it was the precursor to the SNES. And then, yeah, So Martin says KiCad 6 is looking great. Yeah, maybe at some point I need to find time to play with the nightly builds to see where it's at. It seems like, I mean, I guess it's been about a year since 5.0 came out. So, all right, is this that looks like SOAD. Oh, I guess sound address bus. So that's probably what that means. So let's do this. What just happened? Did I copy it by accident? Looks like I did. All right. Highlight that. What am I doing wrong here? Highlight, copy, paste. I think it's because my hand like moved a little bit, and so it thought I was trying to move the group instead of copy it. All right, so edit. I want the label. We'll make that number 2. Edit, label, number 3. And then we're going to copy this down here. And this is going to be 4, 5, 6, and 7. 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, that's looking good. Let's move this down. Whoop, G to move that down once. Okay, that's looking good. So basic synth with 2 or 3 free oscillators and some filters. Is there any chip that can do that digitally? I don't know offhand, but if chat has any idea for, I don't know how to say your name, so I'm going to say Rod. So you want a basic synth, 2 or 3 free oscillators, some filters. If you only want 2, then you could basically just use a, if you only want 2, you could use like a 556, which is a dual package 555 timer. For the most part, you'd only get pulse width modulated, but early video game systems use the same thing to make sound, like the Game Gear we worked on a couple weeks ago. Digitally, you get a dual channel DAC. KiCad is just KiCad-pcb.org. I see what you're saying. Yeah, so I guess the other thing you could look at is there's a Yamaha chip, sound chip. If you look up the Commander X16 project, man, I should work on this so that I can be do things in chat. But if you look at the Commander X16, they have a discrete sound chip in it. I think it's one of the Yamahas. Those still seem to be available. So that might be an option if you just need a sound chip. Okay, so what the heck's going on with these resistors? So there's some resistors here between the SO RA bus. What is RA? RAM? Maybe that's, oh, okay. So sound RAM bus. Okay. And they got 220 ohm resistors. So let's do it this way. Let's see, how would we want, and there's test points in there too. Let's see. We got plenty of space. Let's break their convention a little bit. What if we did this? Let's see. What I want to do, what I'm thinking about is okay, let's just do it this way. Ugh, this mouse doesn't have a middle button. Can you believe that? It doesn't have a middle button. So I don't know how to, I can't really show it to you, but this doesn't have a middle button, but it does have a middle click. And when you click it, it switches between detents and freewheeling. And I keep thinking it's a button, but it's not. And then the mouse, I'm just complaining about everything tonight. My goodness. All right, let's move this. We're gonna move this over. And then we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I think what I'm gonna do is let's add a resistor small, rotate it, and let's edit its properties now so that's easier to change this in a minute. So what we're gonna do is go copy, oh, that's not gonna work. But what we could do is maybe something like this. And then I need the other cursor. There we go. So that's in the right place. That's in the right place. This one needs to come up one. All right. And then this comes over here. I'm not gonna like that either. I don't know how to do this. Yeah, actually, just by the way, Raspberry Pi 3, in terms of sound synthesizing, that's actually, it doesn't actually have a sound chip. It just does PWM square waves. So it's really basic sound. So in a way, you could actually play with some synth kind of things just with that. I'm pretty sure, that's interesting that, so 48K, I know on the Commander X16 Facebook group, they're well into board revisions. So I know they've got the chip picked out. I just don't know what it, I don't remember what it was. So, all right. So what I thought I was going to do is do this. I really don't like that. The only other thought I had was to really, this is really different from what they had. But what if we just did something silly like this, where we just take and stack these? And in fact, what we could do is do something like this. And that way we can kind of bunch these up a little more. And do this. And then we take this. Don't like that at all. Copy. I'm going to do that. I don't know. I'm not super excited about this approach. But I'm going to do this, see what it looks like, and then we can always rip it up later. I guess I could have just drawn connecting lines. It just didn't seem like it was going to work. I don't know. I think I know what I need to do. It's this. There's this circuit at the bottom of the stack that's messing me up. Because then what we would have to do then is come over here, and we're going to take these, and what I could probably do is just delete those, and then move these down to, say, here, right? I don't know. Maybe this will work. Maybe it's stupid. I don't know. Do this, this, this. Not sure how I feel about that yet. Good night, 48K. Good to see you. Yeah, Kansas Fest is actually something I was thinking about going to this year, but, you know, before everything happened. Philomax is asking, would this allow you to build one? I mean, the problem is, by the time Apple got to the 2GS, they really started this with the 2E, and then the 2C, they started going to more and more ASICs. And so the 2GS is mostly an ASIC-based system, meaning even if you have the schematic, you could recreate the PCB, but you then need the Mega ASIC, which is the chip that I'm after, the video controller, the sound chip, the sound glue chip, the slot maker. You know, there's not enough information about how to create the chips. And so you'd have to buy a 2GS and scavenge parts from it to build your own. So what this would help you to do is, if you bought a 2GS that didn't work, is it might help you to diagnose what's going on. Empire is asking, what is Kansas Fest? So Kansas Fest is a festival in Kansas. I don't know, it's been happening for 20 years or so, could be longer, maybe 30 years. It's like about a week long. It happens at a university, and it's only for Apple II enthusiasts. And so it's like a week long hackathon on Apple II stuff. And so like any of the modern stuff that's happening gets presented and shown off there. So for example, ProDOS is still under development. And so whenever there's a new version of ProDOS, the writer or the author will present it there. And so, yeah, it's like, It's a multi-day festival that is all around Apple II hardware, and they do other computers and other Apples, but it's really focused around the Apple II. And so I think they would actually be interested in both the portable Apple II and this project, just because they probably would like the schematics. The weird thing about it, or weird to me anyway, is I'm trying to remember which university that they hold it at, but nobody really stays at a hotel. Everybody stays in the dorms. And so it occurs in the summer after the students are gone. But if you don't register early enough, you won't get a dorm room to yourself. You'll end up with one of the ones where you have to share with somebody. And which I wouldn't mind sharing with a friend, but I'm not quite comfortable spending an entire week around a bunch of strangers and then having to go back to my hotel room and spend time with yet another stranger. So anyway, so that's Kansas Fest. Okay. So that gets all the test points. Darn it. Oh, this just gets messier and messier. Because to get test points out of escape all of these, I have to do something like this. So by the way, I'm hovering over the square and hitting G to extend those lines. G is like such magic. So they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 test points. So let's just try something. Let's do test point. I don't want this dialog. TP119. Let's edit this one, make it invisible. Maybe do this. How many of these can we get next to each other? I really feel like that needs to be 1 pixel over. TP120. No, that's not going to work. Nope, 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 nope. 121. This looks a little bit better. The college experience. Yeah. I realize we're all in different points and ages in the chat, but I'm at the 40 age point, and at 40, sleeping in a dorm room with a dorm roommate is not the part of the college experience that I would like to relive. Technically I had 2 roommates in college because I stayed in the dorms for 2 years. But my second year, my sophomore year, my roommate went home at Christmas and then did not come back the second semester. And he dropped out like a month or so into the semester. And so by that point, the dorm system had already matched up everybody that had moved in new during the holiday break. So for my sophomore year, I actually ended up with a dorm room to myself, which was really, really nice. Now the downside was everybody on the floor thought I made Curtis move out, and they all thought he left because of me, which was unfortunate and not at all the case. He and I got along really well. He was really struggling with his classes, and so we spent many nights reviewing stuff, which was tough for me because he was a junior and I was a sophomore. He was also studying electrical engineering, and I wasn't in some of the advanced, I wasn't nearly as advanced as he was in terms of classes. And so I did my best to help him, but there were just so many things that I was like, I remember we were talking about MOSFET characteristics, and at that point I didn't know anything about MOSFETs, and so I was really struggling with helping him. So anyway, there's another story nobody asked me about. I'm really good at that tonight. Look at this. See how I made that work? I'm so excited. Okay. VIP dorm for me. Yeah, it was super nice. Now, my first year, and I like to think karma paid me back, my first year roommate was terrible. He was a mama's boy through and through. I remember him calling home and crying to his mom because he didn't have enough time to finish all the homework that was required of him. And so he would call her with his assignment on Tuesday. Like this one example was for like a writing class. And so he called her on Tuesday and told her about the assignment. And then Wednesday night, he was up till midnight on the phone with her transcribing the paper she wrote for him. And I was just like, you gotta be kidding me. Because I was working, especially the first part of the semester, first semester, I was working 2 jobs and going to just as many classes as he was. And I still had time to do my homework, just saying. But it was just like, oh, mommy, I don't have time to do this all. They're so mean to me. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, it was sad. He and I did not get along. And then at Christmas break, he freaking took the RAM out of my computer and put it in his computer to see if it would work, which I told him it wouldn't. I don't remember what our machines were at the time, but it was like we didn't have the same kind of RAM. So I was like, I knew it wasn't going to work. And then when he put them back in my machine, he put them back in the slot backwards. And so when I tried to boot the machine, it just started beeping. And it was because the RAM wasn't seated. And so when I asked him about it, I was like, dude, did you touch my computer before I left or before you left? And he's like, oh, no, why? I was like, oh, well, we got to call the police then because somebody broke into the dorm, broke into the room. They didn't steal anything, but for some reason, they took the RAM out of my computer and then put it in backwards. And he just like got all huffy and puffy and walked out of the room. And then I heard him kick the trash can as he walked down the hallway. And I was like, so did I catch you? Did I win? I was like, gosh, like you're such a, anyway, terrible roommate. Yeah. Anywho. His girlfriend, she was driving me insane. She was in our room nonstop. She was so gross. Anyway, I hope you're not watching. If you are, then hey man, reach out and let's catch up. All right, Razcaz, write enable. Oh, that's not write enable, that's read write. My bad. And then output enable doesn't go anywhere. So those are all connected, and then we're gonna have some, looks like we're gonna have some resistors, okay? Let's do a save and refill the wine. What a dweeb. Oh my God, he is such a dweeb, such a dweeb. Yeah, actually, so Rod, I think you're on the same page as me. Is like, you know, especially early when I was younger, I would occasionally go like to students or something because I used to do a lot with First, and kids would always ask, well, do you use the stuff you learned in school? And this is, I think, really hard for non-engineering majors to quite get this. Although now I think about it, liberal arts actually fits the same thing. But, you know, to me, it's not the facts that you learn when you're going, well, at least for engineering, it's not the facts, right? You know, it's like, okay, what's the speed of light? Okay, fine, you learn little facts like that. But to me, what you actually really need to learn is, number one, how to interact and work with other people, which, for example, my roommate was terrible at it. And it's something that I still struggle with, but that's where I learned how to work with people. And number two is you're learning how to learn, because that is what college actually teaches you, is how do you actually create or form your own thoughts from other sources of information? You know, if all you know how to do, and I recognize the irony of saying this, but if all you know how to do is copy a schematic, that doesn't necessarily teach you electronics. Now, if you have some context for what you're copying, you might be able to learn. But, you know, it's like, just learning the facts. I mean, you don't need to go to school to learn facts anymore. There's plenty of, the internet has all the facts that there need to be. Or I was going to say all the facts that there are, but what I said sounded worse. And so, it's how do you find the information, and then how do you use the information that's critical. All right, hold on. Okay, this is great. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this on camera, but just to show you guys what I've been waiting for is, I don't know if you can see that, but it's a picture of my car getting loaded onto a car carrier. So I've been waiting for that to happen. So it was supposed to have been done before the stream started, but the guy showed up late. So, okay. Tertiary and further education. Okay. I'm going to get up for just a minute. I'm going to refill my wine, hit the restroom real quick, and then we'll come back and do this. Like I said, I don't have the trivia set up, so I can't play trivia for you guys. And I don't even have the be right back scene. So I'm just going to mute my microphone and walk away. So I'll be right back. All right, let's get back to some schematics. Oh gosh. And Pirate, you're the man. You're cracking me up, buddy. Oh, let's see if we can't get... So this one must be dead. Yep. So let's do... That's going to be really noisy, but that should look a lot better. The chair is taking over the stream. Hail almighty chair. Yeah, so in my moving process, I have my lawn chair and I have a table. I have an air mattress and a few electronics things that I shipped ahead of time. I was sort of laughing about it because I have no furniture, but I do have 5 oscilloscopes in my house right now. And so I was going to get them all set up on the back here, and I just ran out of time. So maybe for Friday, just as a joke, is I'll have all my scopes set up, even though I don't have anything else. All right. A nice gaming chair. Yeah, it's a lawn chair. I wanted something that was easy to move around the house because anyway. Tizboyo, yeah, it's done. The car's loaded. The guy's finishing up now, and I've got the paperwork. So with that, let's see, my stuff shows up this weekend. My car comes next week. My move will be finished. Cool beans. Guitar, keyboard, and I'm in paradise. Yeah, I keep saying I'm going to learn how to play the guitar, and I haven't done it yet. Maybe I'll make that a goal for next year. I'd do it for this year, but I've got enough stuff going on. So, what do we have here? Kaz comes out here and goes to, let's edit this one. SR371. Oh no, that's the single name. But this is a resistor, SR730, 220. Let's actually delete these two. So I'm just hovering over, hitting delete, and then I'm going to do Control C, Control, oh, nope. Control C, or wait, just hit C, right? Yeah. All right, let's get 3 of these resistors. So this one's going to be SR38, and this one's going to be SR68. So 37 will be Kaz. And Raz is going to 38. So can we get, so maybe what we need to do is move these over a little bit. So I'm using G to nudge that stuff over, which my friend Geek Boy taught me that one. And that shortcut is becoming one of my favorites. Makes it super easy to clean up schematics after you draw them. You know, if you don't get the angles exactly right, or you just need to move some stuff over, it's just super nice and easy. So move this to about here. Wire to connect that up. Oh. Just thought of something. Did I get? So ever since I started moving, my fingerprints have stopped working on most of my Apple devices. Can't load this. Okay. All right, but I got the paperwork. Big time. All right. Did you bring the probes? Yeah, actually, I've got the all my probes are here. All of my scope probes are here, and then I've got a set of DMM leads, but that's about it. Like you need to make your furniture. Like you need to make sure your furniture is working fine. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So we got those coming down. I would have really liked it if these were over here a little bit more. And then these are all going to connect to this chip, which we haven't, I don't think we've wired this one up yet. So I think we're going to do that next. All right. So let's move this one down here, kinda, and we'll figure out how all this is going to fit together here in a minute. Because my original idea didn't pan out, so that's why we're running out of page or space on that page. Move this to roughly this area, and then we will, let's wire this one up, and then we can figure out how we connect it together. That should look good. What was the reason for the move? What was the reason for the move? Well, a couple of things. Family related. I needed to get closer to my mother. And I was living in the Bay Area, and the Bay Area is just really expensive. And so I decided to get to someplace that's lower cost. And for my day job, I travel around the US quite a bit, or used to travel around the US quite a bit. So we'll see how that changes now. But it was starting to wear on me to do a lot of flights from the West Coast to the East Coast, as well as I do a lot of work with our headquarters in Germany. And so just to give you an idea, like right before I moved, I was getting up at 3 or 4 in the morning almost every day for a month so that I could have 2 to 3 hour conference calls with them. And then I would still have to work a full, like pretty much work a full day. Now, technically I didn't have to, and everybody would have understood if I took time off, but it's really hard to kind of do that. And so anyway, so being in the middle of the country just made more sense at this point. But yeah, I mean, I liked where I was, and I'm going to miss it, but I'm pretty excited about where I'm at. I'm really excited about the new studio space that I have. The new house I'm in has a really nice workshop garage, and so I'm excited about that. I think the previous owner was a welder, and so it's really set up for welding, which is something I don't know how to do yet, but that's going to be on my list. That'll probably happen before I learn how to play a guitar, unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know. But yeah, anyway, so I just wanted to move for a couple of reasons. Nothing really changed with my day job. It just sort of gets a little bit easier for me to communicate with people now because I'm in a better time zone, or more appropriate time zone. I shouldn't say that the Central Time Zone is the better time zone. Do I have cuts and scrapes? Yeah, cuts, scrapes, and they're really dried out because I've been really using hand sanitizer lately since I've been doing a lot of interaction with people and things. So I think they're just torn up and not reading very well. But it is interesting because all of my fingerprint devices are having trouble with them. All right. Oh, this is wrong. Let's see this. These pins aren't connected to the package. So how do I, if I come into properties, and if I do edit footprint's not right. No, this isn't what I want. I want to edit the, edit in library editor. And then this should save it into the library, right? I think so. All right. Okay, so that's fixed. Now I should be able to do save. And then if I close this, okay, and it updated already. Perfect. Welding is probably more useful. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna, well, it depends. I am single, so I might get more use out of the guitar, but yeah. Your 1080 settings freezes my screen. Sorry, I don't know how I can do anything about that. Edit with library editor. Yep, that is what I wanted. Okay. So now I'm just gonna retype these. I'm not feeling it on, do want to make sure I'm not dropping frames. Doesn't look like I'm dropping frames. As I've sort of, well, in case you didn't hear me say before, I'm not running with my usual setup. So for example, when I stream, this is the first time I've ever streamed using Wi-Fi. I almost always hardwire in, but I don't have an Ethernet cable long enough to get to where the modem is at right now. And I could make one. I got all the supplies to make one because I need to wire up some of the Ethernet jacks in the house. But I didn't want to make a cable just for this because in another week or so I won't need it. So I thought we'd try Wi-Fi today and see how it works. And then, but I think maybe as early as Sunday's stream, I'll be hardwired in, so we should be in good shape. One thing I'm excited about is I switched to fiber internet, and I'm excited about that because now I have a reasonable upload speed, which for streaming, what I had was fine before. My video files and stuff to my editor, it was, oh my God, it would take forever. All right, so where is, I guess RES is reset and IRQ, where are those going? They're going off page. So we're just going to wire them off page right here. So okay, so then we're going to bring this over here. Reset L. IRQ L. All right, so those are done. A CAS M. I wonder why. What does M mean? I don't remember. And the BS signal is no connect. So E connects to SNDE. Nope. Do a wire. SNDE. Are those chips still available? No, the chips are all. There's a couple that are, like the CPU. You can actually buy a brand new version of the CPU, but all of the Apple specific chips are no longer manufactured. So I've got a couple of 2GSs that we're going to scavenge them from that are already busted. So we're not destroying anything that is usable. Any plans to create PCBs? So in terms of the Bit Preserve project and everything related to it, I'm not opposed to recreating PCBs. However, I'm not really sure I see how the logistics of that are going to work. Other than if you wanted to create an entirely new PCB, which, like for example, I'll be recreating a new PCB for my project. However, it's not like it'll be a drop-in replacement for anything because I'm making it because it doesn't exist. So in terms of other PCB, like, you know, documenting the actual PCBs, I'm not sure what the right way to do that is. I mean, I think the right answer to that is you ship them off to somebody that sands off the layers and scans it and then creates Gerbers from that. I don't know that it would make sense to recreate the PCB in KiCad. That said, I did write a Hackster.io article about an Amiga 500 project. Hackster, let's do James Lewis. I think Amiga 500. Yeah. So somebody did actually, they painstakingly recreated the schematic and the PCB for an Amiga 500. And so now in their case, they also made some changes to the PCB when they designed it, which is fine. But, you know, I guess you could do that. I'm not sure the real value other than, like, I guess, well, I take that back. The value of this approach wouldn't be so much for repairing an existing system, but a replacement. So if the PCB was completely corroded from battery leakage or capacitor leakage, then you could replace it. And so now in terms of my usage and my purposes, I don't plan to recreate the boards, but I'm not opposed to people doing that and including it in the project. I think that would be a great addition. That's not what I plan to do. I only have so much crazy, and so I like to leave a little bit of crazy left over for some other people. That's the way I'm going to look at it. He says, coming up with something off the cuff. Third time you're seeing buffering on the stream? Huh. Okay, I'll keep that in mind. What I might do is I might make some changes for Friday's stream and just see if they make a difference. Because I did think about a few things I could have done, but I wanted to see how they would play out if I changed nothing. So if people are having if there's a couple of issues happening, then we can try to make some changes. Actually, maybe for Friday's stream, I will just, no, it's not that. I'm trying to grab it. No? Okay. So 7m.h. So that's where clock is going. Yeah, symmetrical up and down, 5 millisecond ping. Also, from what I can tell, like in my neighborhood, very few people have it. So I'm hoping it's less congested than say like cable. But yeah, don't judge the quality of this stream in terms of fiber because this is not the ideal setup. So I don't expect this to work perfect. Yeah, so because like I know a couple of you had said some issues. Don't mistake that, oh, that must mean it's because it's fiber. It's probably about as good as it's going to get. For my given setup, it's going to be better than what it could have been. I think trying to do any kind of streaming over Wi-Fi is very silly. You know, let me rephrase that. Real-time streaming with Wi-Fi is kind of silly just because if there's any kind of congestion, there's not much of a chance for rebuffering. So, oh, what fresh hell is this? All right. Oh, I don't see how we're, okay. So, okay, we're going to, do I have this connector on here? Oh, I think this is the one that I have a question mark. I think it's this connector. Let's edit this and see what it looks like. MO7, yep. It's upset because it can't find the Freetronics. Yeah, what's up? Why can't, what's the other header symbol? I thought it was M. Let's just do connector 1x7. That'll work. All right. And then, so we're going to name this one 25. We don't need this, so let's edit, hide that. Rename this to be J25. And then we're going to add labels for J25-1. And then we skip 2. We'll go 3, 4. All right. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then wire that, wire that, wire that, wire that, wire that, and wire that one. Hey AJ, good morning, afternoon, or night to you as well. That's vintage hell. So I see what they were doing. I'm sort of on board with this little trick. I like that. And then let's bring this over here to about here. Oh, why'd you do that? That's not fair. That's not fair at all. Cheater. Okay, add G&D ground. So for those of you watching on YouTube, if just a heads up, I'm going to start transitioning my live streaming over to Twitch full time. So just FYI, in the near future, what will end up getting posted are edited versions of the live stream. But live stream is going to be over on twitch.tv/baldengineer. I'm considering creating like an AddOhms live channel, but I'm probably not going to do that. And instead, I'm just going to do live streaming on Twitch. And then like I said, upload an edited version to YouTube. So just a heads up on that. J24. This comes around. Oh, and if you do go over to Twitch, there are a number of, we'll say, I'll start by saying STEM streamers. And then there's a bunch of us electronics guys like Acetin from 1Bit Squared. I want to say he streams on Thursdays or Tuesdays and Thursdays. So like he's working on his Icebreaker project. And so he streams when he's working on that, which is a lot of KiCad work. And so he streams. There's a guy named Bother, which is more of a maker, but he does some electronic stuff. Scamline. She mostly does like programming related things, but it's still technology and hardware, or technology and electronics. Every once in a while, Jerry Ellsworth streams, but I'm thinking it's been a long time since I saw her stream pop up. And then Sion from Unexpected Maker, he uses it. He does a lot of live streams as well, mostly on YouTube, but I noticed he started doing some stuff over on Twitch. I think Twitch is very quickly, I'm hoping Twitch quickly loses the, oh, it's just for games, because it's a really nice platform for live streaming. Okay, so this is a great place where we're going to use the G command because I can't get as many lines in here, so I'm just going to hit G and nudge these over a little bit. There we go. Oh, originally, you know what I was going to do? Oh, well, it's too late. We're already doing it this way. 9 is going to come down here, up, around, and that's going to be 7. Then where does 6 connect to? I might have read this wrong. Oh, but what I was going to say is if you go over to my Twitch page, so twitch.tv/baldengineer, I do have a box and it's a list of all of the STEM related streamers that I found that I enjoy watching. And so that way, if you're like, oh, well, I don't want to go over there just for that bald guy, which I can understand. I do have a list of other people that you could follow as well. So that makes it a little bit more worth it. Oh, that's not going to get in there. Shoot. Okay, so we need a G to move this over, G to move that over. And then we're going to move this one over, and now we can get this last wire. Look at that. Oh, you know what I did? That's why I was getting confused. This wasn't supposed to connect to 6. This was supposed to connect to 7. And then this one comes in like that. Ugh, that's kind of ugly. Because I guess what I should have done is before I ran 7, yeah, that's what we're going to go with. I really hope that's not messing up what I think it is. Why not stream on both? Because there's functionality that I want to enable on Twitch. And in order to do that, I need to be an affiliate. And to be an affiliate, I can't stream to both simultaneously. And so that's why I want to take advantage of some features that being an affiliate on Twitch would allow me to do. So I can only do one or the other. Is ground ref mains ground? I don't know. I'm a little bit confused on this one because most of the rest of the schematic uses the more digital ground. And so since you bring it up and I don't have an answer, I'm not going to figure it out tonight. So we're going to verify why there are 2 ground symbols on this schematic and which is which type. Are we using the right symbols? Uh, 9 connects to J25-7. Okay. Did I get that backwards? Yeah, that's what I did. I really don't. So I don't like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, because I don't like how these cross over. I think that actually makes it harder to read. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to delete these. And I could probably use G and nudge everything, but I think it'd be more clear if I do it this way. So since this one connects to 6, let's do that, and then that way we can bring this one. Oh, what? Oh, that was terrible. There. And then we can use G, and let's tighten this up just a little bit. Because now what I think I want to do is, even though, I mean, this is kind of, I'm kind of being inconsistent here, but I sort of like the, I want to be explicit. No, I meant to copy that, not move it. Hey, Hannibal, thanks for the follow. I have a sub for you for when you switch to Twitch. Okay, oh, look, oh man, this isn't even connected. Okay, screw this. This is why I hate having these long runs of wires. We're not going to do it that way. Yeah, actually, subs on Twitch are another reason I want to go to affiliate. But I didn't want that to be my first reason to say so, because that's not my primary reason. I mean, yeah, it'd be nice to generate some revenue that way, but there really are. There's like, there's some commands and things that I want to enable, but you can't do it unless you're an affiliate. And so that's my primary motivator. Okay. So where was 3 supposed to connect to? J25-3. Oh, I never found it. Well, I'm glad we did it this way then. And then this one should be, okay. That's so much better. So much better. Yeah. Man, I wonder if there's a, hold on a second. I think I have a file system problem. So, projects, GitHub, BitPreserve, Apple. I can switch back now. Apple 2. So what I'm wondering is, so it is in 2GS, ROM schematic, 2GS schematic cache.lib. Well, it was modified 4 minutes ago. I wonder. Let's look at its properties real quick. Because I have this problem on one of my other drives. No. Because I've got a problem on one of my other drives where Windows will it will say nobody has access to the file. And it's kind of a pain. But, okay, so we hit save right now. It didn't complain and it didn't update. Go figure. And it updated. Okay, so I don't know what's going on. I don't know why I keep getting that error. Okay, let's figure out where this J25-3 goes and call that one good. Oh, it goes way up there. Okay. Okay. What are these other couple symbols? Let's say, okay, let's go ahead and do, so that's a no connect. Let's go ahead and do this one. Oh, that's not gonna work. Let's do this one, then this one, and this one. Skinny Pop brand office chairs. I don't know if I get that reference. Flask, file system problem, doesn't sound fun. Yeah, well, what I thought it was the problem, so I actually know what causes the other problem is, so when I'm shooting video and I transfer video from my SD card to my hard drive, I use rsync so that I only copy the files that are new. And when rsync creates files on my RAID drive, the permissions get messed up. And so I have to actually go to a folder before the folder with the files and tell it to overwrite all of the children, because system admin and my user all have no access to the files. It's a really strange problem. And I was thinking that's what we were running into here, but it doesn't look like it. So you took classes at a makerspace. Was it Tech Shop in Austin? Because I used to teach classes there when I lived in Austin. So what I think the problem actually is, and I run into this in other applications, is if Dropbox is processing the file when KiCad goes to save it, it throws an error because every once in a while it works. So are you gonna put up any antennas or plans for general? Yeah, that's on my list, but I need to get all my other stuff set up and then I'll play with radios, but it's probably going to be a couple months before I get to radios. Tech shop, cool. Yeah, I used to teach, the primary class I used to teach was the electronics measurements with the scope and the multimeter. Yep, in Round Rock, yeah, that was good times. I spent a lot of time at Tech Shop when I wasn't traveling. That was back when I was in the, when I would basically travel every day during the week, every week, Monday through Friday. And then I would go hang out at Tech Shop on the weekends. Which drove the guy that did the classes crazy because he wanted me to do things like during the day and during the week. And I was never there. It was like, yeah, sorry, bud, not gonna happen. Why can't I change that? So can we get one that doesn't have a name then? How about just a power symbol? Wrong key. Let's try this. Okay. That's not the right symbol either. I don't know if we're gonna find what I want. I'm gonna try, but I don't know that I'm gonna get lucky. And I'm not gonna go make one, that's for sure. Yeah, I mean, this is what I want. Why can't you just let me... Why can't I change it? I want to change it. Oh well, we're just gonna put this. Nope, no we're not, no we're not. Why can't I change it? Oh, you're driving me crazy. I don't feel like dealing with this right now. This needs to be solid arrow -5 VS. All right, solved. Okay. You must enjoy traveling. You know, 10 years ago I did, but I've done like 1.5 million miles in my life. Well, I've done 1.5 million miles where 1.25 million of that was the last 6 or 7 years. So I'm kind of tired of traveling actually. In 2017, I traveled almost, well, not almost, I traveled over 300 days. I actually spent more time in Tokyo than I did at home. And Tokyo was only one of the places I was going on a regular basis. Which was cool, but after, I don't know, the 12th trip or so, I was like, oh, I just want to stay home. Which I realize other people have not been so fortunate, but one of the nicest things about the whole pandemic is I've been able to stay home and get a lot of project stuff done, like live streaming on a regular basis. This was something I really couldn't do before. So, okay, so we've got about half the schematic, the schematic for the sound page done. I think that's all I'm going to be able to get done tonight, which is cool because we got most of what I'll say the easy stuff done. So I'm not trying to show in detail what's going on over here, but we basically got all of the digital chips, or all the chips are now basically done. We need to go back through and look at them and verify them, but we'll do that when we're all done. And so what we can do next time is now we can start working on all this analog stuff, which I think is going to take a lot more time and effort because there's multi-packages here. So we'll have to group things together. And then there's just a lot more detail in this that we'll have to make sure we get right. And so this is what we'll dive into the next time we work on the schematic. So Thyro, thanks for the follow. Welcome to the stream. So I think I'm going to start wrapping up. Let's just take a quick moment and review where we're at with this 2GS schematic. So I know you can't read the details. That's not where I was trying to go. But so if we go back up, so there's 1, 2, 8, 9 pages that we're working on. And let's see, page 1, I think was the CPU, wasn't it? I can't remember. CYA. Oh yeah, oh man, I looked that up at one point. It's not cover your ass, it's something else. But anyway, so that page is pretty much done. Let's see, which one is this? This is the Mega 2. This is actually the only page I really care about. But yep, oh no, shoot, the Mega 2 is not done. Okay, well, we need to do that. All right. What is page 3? Page 3 is the video processor. Okay, so that one's got a lot of work we've got to do. Page 4 is IWM, the integrated WAS monitor. This looks mostly done, but there's some blank chips. Okay, so we're not nearly as complete as I thought we were. A lot of partial stuff is done. So which one is this? This is the, don't recognize this one, M5741 keyboard. Okay. Okay, what was the name of it? I don't have a name. Yeah, okay, great. That's descriptive. The decoupling capacitor page, yeah, we did that one. I remember doing that. This is the one, oh, this is Slot Master. Or slots, yep, that's done. I know that one's done. That was one of the first ones we streamed. And then this looks like the memory chips, and I think this one's done. This was actually the very first one we did, because I knew it was gonna be a lot of copy and paste. All right, so Flask, would it be possible to replicate those Apple-only chips, or is it too impractical? Yeah, it's actually possible. There's probably, not even probably, there are FPGA reimplementations of most of the chips, and so you could reimplement most of them as an FPGA. Now, it's not practical to go and have them refabricated as an ASIC, but yeah, you could redo it with a bunch of FPGAs. Yeah, Ben Eater's 6502 project, yeah, his is more about learning how computers work. I don't know if he's specifically trying to teach the 6502 or that's just the processor he's using to teach, but he's doing, I mean, everything he does is fantastic. I'm looking forward to going through some of his stuff to understand the 6502 better as well as assembly. That's actually one of my hopes once I have my portable Apple II done is I can finally learn some assembly for the 6502 because I think between the Apple, the Commodore, and the Nintendo, the NES, that's 3 interesting systems I'd like to be able to program for. And so if I knew assembly for the 6502, that'd be much easier. So let's go back to me. So, okay. So yeah, so cool. We got some of that done. Now I can get all that. Let me save. Still getting the error. I need to look into that error, but I'm probably going to push what I have to GitHub. I'm not too worried about, because that's basically just the schematic cache or the symbol cache for the specific schematics. And so worst case, I can trash that file and then have KiCad regenerate it, and then we'll just have to replace a bunch of the symbols. So I'm not too worried about that one, but I think I'll go ahead and push my changes to GitHub here in a little bit anyway. Yeah, actually, I follow Zorch. In fact, we hosted him a couple of weeks ago because he was streaming when I was finishing up. But he's on my, almost positive he's on my list of interesting or STEM type streamers to follow. So, all right. Next stream will be on Friday. So if you're in Central Time Zone, it'll be like 8 p.m. And if you're not in the Central Time Zone, then that's GMT -5. And we're either going to continue on the 2GS schematic, although I'm not quite feeling it because I want to do something more interesting. So I've got 2 other ideas, and I'll think about which one we want to do. What we might do is we might just do some Arduino programming, and what I might do is I might just come up with like 3 or 4 common tasks that people have trouble with, especially like stuff around using millis, and then maybe chat can suggest some other things we can try. Or we might work on another project that's programming related. But then after, I think starting next Wednesday, we can get back to doing some hardware stuff. So we will see. Oh yeah, he's the one that did the programming on COBOL. That's right. Yeah, that was really awesome. Yeah, Super Nintendo is 65816, which is actually the same CPU that's in the 2GS. It's actually why a lot of developers use the 2GS to do SNES development. The unfortunate thing about that is that meant there were a lot of really cool games that their core development was done on the 2GS that never saw the light of day on the 2GS. So that's frustrating. All right, let's take a quick look and see who's live on Twitch right now. If you'd like to keep the conversation going, then check out our Discord. Why am I getting chat rules on my own chat? So anyway, if you go to AddOhms.com/Discord, that'll redirect you to the server. That's also a good place to kind of keep up with when we go live and stream, as well as be able to ask questions and things like that. Oh, check this out. Zorch is streaming now, so we're going to go say hi to him. So, okay, so for YouTube people, thanks for coming by. For Twitch people, I'm going to send you over to, what's he doing? Looks like he is doing 6502 assembly. Okay, cool. All right, well, thanks to everybody for joining. I appreciate the conversations and the help. And we will see everybody later. All right, let's go raid. Type in his name, select him, and we'll get that going. So next stream will be on Friday. Let's do raid now. Come on. All right, send you guys over, and let's get this noise going.